Bobby Lopez here, PGA Pro from Quick Fix Golf at quickfixgolf.com, where we want you to play better golf now. And how we're going to do that, we're going to help you out. That's what we do. And today we had a class, or yesterday we had a class that was excellent, and we had a technical difficulty. I didn't record it, so I'm redoing it for you right now because I want you to have this information. This is important. If you're thinking about getting a 48-inch driver, or you want to know the difference between 45 and 48 inches, with TrackMan Perfection, stick around, because you're going to get your answer right now before you spend $600 on a new driver and find out it wasn't worth it. Well, it might be. Who knows? We're going to find out. Would I hit it further with a longer driver? That's what it's all about here. USGA sort of stepped into this deal here because I guess they're getting afraid everybody's hitting the ball too far. We'll tell you more about that. And we want you to download our new app. It's absolutely free. And it has a great feature where you just has one little stripe there that just says quick upload. And you can just quickly upload your video. So for a free analysis, so we'll tell you exactly what's going on with your golf swing. The USGA, in all their in all their wisdom, it never fails. Here they come up with, look, professional and elite amateur tournaments will have the option, I put that in red there, option, of limiting driver length under a new local rule from golf's governing bodies. Well, if you've ever played in a competitive tournament where you get a rule sheet, and sometimes it'll say on there like the right side of the hole number 3 is out of bounds, or there's construction on hole number 5, you get a free lift. So it's a local rule. So the powers to be, or the committee that's running the golf tournament, can opt in to say one of the local rules is you can't have a driver more than 46 inches long. Now, what happens if you have this situation? There's Gary Player, probably about 5'6". And then here's Yao Ming. He's about 23. I don't know how tall he is, but he's up there. And what happens if he needs a longer driver just from a fitting standpoint? Not fair to him, right? Maybe he wants a 54-inch driver. Oh, well. Remember the Killer Bees? Those old days, a lot of guys were using them on the senior tour. They were 55 inches long. They didn't keep using them. So let the market prevail. Well, anyway. Your tee shot's an important shot. It's like first down in football. If you're second down and 20 every time, you're not going to get anywhere. Ask the Miami Dolphins, they'll tell you. It doesn't work. You got to get, you got to be second down and 2, second down and 3. Something manageable. But not, so if you hit your tee shot off into the woods somewhere and you have to just sort of chip it back in the fairway, that's second down and 20. You've already lost an entire shot. Easily. So you got to get this ball in the middle of the fairway. That's the name of the game. Distance, yes. The closer you get it, now you're second down and 2. If you didn't hit it very far, you're second down and 5. But at least you're manageable. When you're in the woods, you're not manageable. So first thing we got to do before we decide whether we want a longer one or a shorter one is just see what we got in the first place. Here's the head of the driver, which they're getting so big pretty soon they're going to be the side of a basketball. Unbelievable. The face is not really flat. We're going to discuss this further in a few minutes. It's got a 10-degree radius for most of them. Could be 11, could be 9, could be, whatever. But it's in the ballpark. And the other problem we have with these things, as big as they're making them, is that they're actually making them harder to draw the ball because weight is further away from the axis. The bigger you make this head, the more you have weight away from the axis. For an example, if you took some lead tape, if you know what lead tape is, it comes in a roll, or you can probably get them just about any golf store. You can get them online cheaper. And you put some lead tape out here by the toe, that's not a bad idea if you're somebody that really turns their forearms over really hard at the ball, and you want that toe to lag a little bit because you're afraid of hooking it. And I'm not talking about swing lag, I'm talking about toe lag of the club. But most people are a whole lot better off if they put, and I would recommend starting off at 7 grams. 7 grams of lead tape over here into the heel, because that will assist the club in rotating over the axis. This being the axis, this being the outer toe of the golf club. You'll see a lot of these screws. You can put a bigger screw here or a heavier screw here than you can there. You're trying to do the same thing, but I'd go for all the. I'd rather use lead tape, quite frankly, myself, but because I can control the amount. But I start off with 7 grams. And if you add 7 grams, you really should choke up about a half an inch on your driver. whatever length it is. Because a half an inch equals 7 grams. Capiche? All right, so now we know we've got to get a golf club to rotate over in order to draw the ball, or at least hit it straight. The club face is actually going to be a little bit closed at impact, not open. It's certainly and not square either. And now let's look at from another view here. You notice with this putter right over here to the right, you can draw a line through the center of the shaft, and it's pointing right at the center of the face. They won't let you make a golf club that way. They'll let you make a putter that way, but they won't let you make a golf club that way. Here you've got just as much golf club on this side of the center of gravity as you do on the other. Supposedly. And then you look at the hybrid, and it's not as far away from the axis. The head's not as big. So you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, I can draw my hybrid, but I can't, I keep slicing my driver. Well, sure, because you got weight so far away from the axis. If you made that driver head smaller, you'd actually be better off. They've got you all built into the idea of having the bigger head because it's going to have a bigger sweet spot. Well, that might not be the case. Here's the center of gravity. Let's pretend. I don't know where it is on this club, but let's just pretend it's there. There's where you're going to get your maximum speed off the face. So if you're swinging the club, let's just say 100 miles an hour, and the ball's coming off at 150, that's a smash factor of 1.5. That's about as good as it gets. And what all the companies are trying to do is they're trying to distribute the weight around the head to where as you move off the center of gravity and you hit the ball here, brand A says, well, I don't come off at 150, I come off at 143. And brand B says, well, I come off at 139. So they're trying to make the reduction in ball speed off the face less drastic. And that they call that forgiveness, and they call that a bigger sweet spot. But I don't do. I call neither one. I don't believe in forgiveness in the golf club. Right? So the same thing here. Now, here's another problem. When you miss the center of gravity, you get a thing that's called gear effect. I'm going to show you what that means. Oh, let me tell you this other thing first. Arnold Palmer tried to develop a club with a weight on the opposite side of the axis, so that you would have as much weight on one side as the other. Right here, you got about 200 grams. So you need 200 grams of metal right here. Problem is the USGA wouldn't allow it. So what he did have, he called the Arnold Palmer Peerless. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those. It had like a little triangle there. And then Cobra started doing the same thing. But it was really of no value whatsoever, which is why the USGA approved it. Melhorn, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So it looked nice, but it didn't do anything. See, a tennis racket is a lot easier in the sense that the racket axis is in the center of the racket. See? So imagine if you had a tennis racket and the tennis racket was here, but the handle was there. And now you're trying to rotate this racket over to put topspin on a tennis ball. You got to really wrench it over. Now you know why everybody slices. Because the shaft is on the side. I saw a set of golf clubs with the shaft outside on the toe in 1963. And it was so good that, of course, the USGA made it illegal right away. Can't do it. Now, here's what I talked about when I said there was a 10-degree radius. So this face is not flat. It's bulged. Not only is it bulged from toe to heel, but it's bulged from the top to the bottom. In fact, in my old time, when we had all the wooden woods, you look at some of these old videos of Hogan and stuff, and you see how small the woods are. You say, oh, my God, how the heck did they even hit the ball? Because you got spoiled with these big woods, big drivers, metal drivers. I remember the first metal drivers that came out. I think it was TaylorMade. They were small. They were like the size of the wood. But anyway, we would have, because they were wood, you could sand it to whatever you wanted in the face, and they would sand in more bulge than the 10 degree. They'd make it 12 degrees, for instance. So you had like a knuckle in the center. You had more bulge, more roll. The problem with that was, as you're going to see with this gear effect, that made the gear effect even worse. So if you missed the center of gravity, you paid a big price for that. The ball went crooked. Now here's what happens if you hit it right in the center. Here you hit it right in the kisser. You're going to get more underspin than anything else. Considering that the face is square, right? We'll take 3 degrees close. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for less underspin, as we're going to see on the chart in a minute. Less underspin with more height. If hold the ball in the air longer, it's not spinning as much. When it lands on the ground, you get what they call the tumbler. The ball rolls. And an extra, don't discount an extra 10 yards roll or 20 yards roll is huge. Huge. It's a really big deal. Now, let's say that you hit the ball more out towards the toe of the golf club, above the center of gravity. Even though the club recoils back this way, which would make you think that they would send the ball out like that, it doesn't. It makes the ball spin in the opposite direction. That's why they call it gear effect. I guess because gears go in the opposite direction of each other. So the club's doing this. The ball's going to do this. Going to turn left to right. And the ball's going to start off to the right, but it's going to curve back to the center. The opposite is true when you hit it below the center of gravity. Where'd my thing go? Here it goes. You hit it in the heel, the club recoils backwards. You would think that that would make the ball go to the left. But what it does is it starts off a little left and then fades back to the right. You can really recognize if you hit it in the heel because usually the heel shots are low, left to right, and low. The toe shots are a little higher, right to left. One thing you can do when you're practicing, can't do it on the golf course, but when practicing, get some face tape, go to longshotgolf.com and look for overruns and, what do they call them? They call them something. Well, they're overruns. Blemish, that's what they call it. Blemished and overruns. And you get 5 big rolls for $25. Where most golf stores you go to, you get a little envelope with like 6 sheets for $8.99. So take a look at that, longshotgolf.com. We're not making any money on this. I'm just telling you. We don't have a deal with them. All right, but that way you put some face tape on the driver and you'll know where you're hitting it on the face. Then you know what I would do, and it'll be obvious to you when you see these next charts in a second, is I choke up a half an inch, put face tape on. Choke up a full inch, put face tape on. See if there's a difference in your centers of hit with the club choked up an inch or choked up a half inch. Now, let's look at, here's the trackman, and it's pretty darn accurate. 75 mile an hour club head speed. There we go. That's mine right there. I'm only kidding. Here you go. Here's 90. That's getting closer. I'm getting old. Can't swing it like I used to. So this is going to help you if you're an older golfer. You're not swinging it as fast. You look at these. This is when it goes up to 95. You see some of these kids swinging at 125 miles an hour. It's insane. Angle of attack -5. What does that mean? That means here's the golf ball. Here's your club. And it's heading downward by 5 degrees. We really want it to come in more shallow and be on the way up 5 degrees. That's ideal. But with the downward blow of 5 degrees, ball speed was 107. The launch angle, which is mucho importante, 11.8. And here's the big one, 3,214 RPM. That's the spin rate of the ball, which means, guess what? You ain't getting any roll. Carry was 140. Final distance was 182. Here's +5. Ball speed's at 111. Same club head speed. We didn't do anything to swing the club any faster. We didn't go out and lift weights. We didn't run. None of that. No push-ups. Launch angle is 15.3. And look at this. This is the big number right here. 1,976. That's huge. It's a big difference off the 32.14. Carry is 156. Total distance 206. So from 206 to 182, that's what, 24 yards or something like that? That's huge. That's 2 irons. Well, you were hitting a 6 iron, now you're hitting at 8. Let's look at those golfers that are swinging at 90 miles an hour. -5, total distance 231. +5, total distance 259. That's 260 from 230. I mean, that's almost 30 yards, 28 yards. That's huge. And that's not changing any club head speed whatsoever. That's just swinging on the upswing rather than the downswing. Now, how do you do that? What's a good drill for that? Well, I'll tell you one right now. Now, let's take a look at this here. I'm going to show you some players here. I'm going to show you some players. Here is Dustin Johnson. And I'll show you what we're going to do. He's hitting a 3-wood or something right here. But I'm going to put a line right through the middle of the bow. Then I'm going to put a line on the ball, on the club right here. And you'll see from the center of the club to the ball. It looks like, well, I don't know if I can believe these percentages or degrees on this, but it says 11-degree upswing. See? Let's look at Kuchar. Here's the Cooch. Haven't seen him in a while. Guess nobody wants to caddy for him. Oh, anyway. There. Now look, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? Huh? Look at that. He's moving the ball further up in his stance so you can get it more in the upswing. Come on, Coach. Will you come on? Quit thinking so much. Put a cross right on his too, right in the center. And we'll go from there. 8 degrees on the upside. Let's look at one more. We'll look at McElroy. Here he is. Oh, that's not him. Come on. Here we go. Let's put a cross on the ball. Look how far forward he has that ball in the stance. These younger players are moving the ball further up in their stance. So should you. I'll tell you what else. If you want to get them to stop hitting the 350 yards instead of trying to shorten the driver, how about shorten the tee? Now let's put a on the upswing. And just to show you that it's nothing new, although to show you that the newer players, here we go. Here's an oldie but a goodie. There he is. Lee's Fleas. I'm going to put a line through the middle of his ball. There. There. To there. It says 13 degrees. Look at where he has his ball. Ball position. Come on. Get out of the way. Whoops. Can't move it. But here's the tee right here. See, I would say, hey, Lee, move it up to there, will you? Move it up to that left heel. And you'll catch a couple more yards. All right, so there's proof positive that's what they're doing. Now let's take a look at, let's go back to the slideshow here. And now let's go 48 to 45. Let's see what the difference is. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Here's 45. Where's my magic pointer here? Here we go. 45 inches long. 9-degree loft. Club head speed 109.4. Whoopee. Woof. Not bad. 164 ball speed. Smash factor, mucho importante. 1.5 is as good as it gets. Wasn't there a movie named that? As good as it gets? That's right. Remember, we went to see it in Miami Beach. Lady in the line, she's going, I'm bloated. Launch angle, 14 degrees. Spin ratio, 26-21. Mucho importante. Little lower height. Carry 184. Total distance 303. Now here's a 48-inch driver. It definitely went faster. If you understand angular acceleration, here's one soldier, here's another soldier, here's another soldier, here's another soldier, here's another soldier, and it goes column left, march. This one has to go to here, this one has to go to here, this one has to go to here, this one has to go to here. This one has to march faster than over this one, and this one has to march faster than this one. And this one just sort of marks time so that you still have a straight line coming around. So the further you go away, if you put 12 soldiers on this, then he's going to have to march even faster. So the club did for sure go faster. The ball speed was a little faster by 4 miles an hour. Ah, here's a problem. Didn't hit the center of gravity of the golf club. Didn't miss it by much. Launch angle's, 1 degree different. Spin rate is higher. The club gets longer. I think you get the tip bowing a little more. You get a little more spin rate. So the height was a little higher. Carried it another 2 yards, but guess what? When it was all said and done, it actually went shorter. And if you want my opinion, not many will say that. If you want my opinion, I'd say I'd rather deal with the 45-inch driver than the 48-inch driver because there's more risk. And this is a risk management game. And for every time you hit that 48-incher and you don't catch it in the center of gravity, what the heck's the difference? I'd rather have the 45 and catch it more in the center of the club face and keep it in the fairway. Especially if I'm not going to get anything else out of it. I mean, if the 48-incher, what I gain in club head speed, which is here, what I gain in club head speed, I'm going to throw it away in spin ratio. What's the difference? I'm better off with the 45-incher, which is what most guys on tour are playing with. I know that DeChambeau was, toying around with the 48-incher, but, you end up hitting it all over the ballpark. So, at least now you know the truth of what happens here. Let's don't forget that if you want to see what your swing's doing, maybe that's the problem that you're having. You want to go ahead and upload your video so that we can do a complete analysis. Or just load it up at quickfixgolf.com. So if you have any questions about this, you can always send me an email at quickservice@quickfixgolf.com. I hope this helped you out, make you realize you don't need to run out and go buy a 48-inch driver. Now, let's say your driver's 46 inches right now. What I would do is this. I'd choke up to 45, and I'd put 14 grams of lead tape on the heel. Was every half an inch is worth 7 grams. So you want 14 grams of lead tape on the heel so that the club still balances out. That's what a lot of people do. They make the mistake of taking a 48-incher and cutting it to 45, and then you don't realize the head weight was designed for that 48 inches. So right away, you've got to add weight onto the head to compensate for the shorter golf club. So if you cut off an inch, add 14 grams. All right? Quick service at quickfixgolf.com, quickfixgolf.com, and hope this helps you out. Bobby Lopez here, signing off.